I love Venn diagrams. I really do. I love Venn diagrams. It's just something about those three circles and the analysis about where there is the intersection, right? Yeah, I see people that you agree with me, right? So I asked my team, I brought props.
Kamala was in on it. She covered up Joe's obvious mental decline.
Our president is in good shape, in good health, tireless, vibrant, and I have no doubt about the strength of the work that we have done.
But Kamala knew Joe couldn't do the job, so she did it. Look what she got done. A border invasion, runaway inflation, the American dream dead. They created this mess. Kamala owns this failed record. Make America Great Again Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Warning. The following may upset liberals who don't want voters to know the truth about Kamala Harris.
If you ever wondered how Joe Biden could get the border so screwed up, remember, he had help. Here's Biden appointing Kamala Harris to be his border czar to deal with illegal immigration. And here are a record number of illegal immigrants, 10 million and counting, flooding over the border after Harris was put in charge of stopping illegal immigration.
The Democrats can't be serious. They are now going to try and ram Kamala Harris down our collective throats. Do they not realize how much damage this woman carries along with her? And I'm not even talking about her personal exploits. She has spent the last 4 years helping Dementia Joe destroy America. And unfortunately for her, it's all on video. Trump will have ad after ad after ad available to show her sheer incompetence and her lies.
To be fair, Harris got off to a rough start by ignoring the border.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
Harris was liberal on illegal immigration before she ever reached the White House. As a prosecutor in San Francisco, Harris allowed illegal immigrant drug dealers to enter job training and have their criminal records wiped clean. One of the illegal immigrants Harris released went on to steal an SUV and ran down a young woman, seriously injuring her. And, of course, Harris backs sanctuary city laws that harbor illegal immigrants, even criminals. She even backs taxpayer-funded health care for illegals, record illegal immigration, special treatment for illegals, taxpayer-paid benefits. And Harris still doesn't get it.
I've been working on this issue for a very long time.
That's the truth about Kamala Harris. She's dangerously liberal on illegal immigration.
Kamala Harris is simply Dementia Joe in high heels. You get nothing different. Actually, she may even be more radical than Dementia Joe. Her belief system and what she wants to foist upon America is insane. That's why no one, and I mean no one, wanted her as president in 2020, and now she's been handpicked by the Democrat Party to finish off America.
If you thought Joe Biden was radical, just wait until you get to know Kamala Harris. She's dangerously liberal.
I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. For far too long, the status quo thinking has been to believe that by putting more police on the street, you're going to have more safety. And that's just wrong.
You're confident this border's secure?
We have a secure border.
We're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct.
People who are convicted in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation.
Abolish ICE. Yeah. Is that a position that you agree with?
Listen, I think there's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE, and we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's new darling of the party. She had 60 Minutes this weekend proudly calling herself a radical, and she's promoting policies like saying that every single carbon emission in the country, every car, should be eliminated within the next 11 years, everything from a 70 to 80% tax rate. Do you agree that she could possibly, in this ideology of the socialist left, could splinter your party?
No, I think that's fantastic.
Buckle up, people. This is going to be a bumpy ride. And as I've said many times in my videos, the Democrats are stuck for now. You see, politically, it would be suicide for the Democrats to try and jump over Kamala without first giving her a shot to see what she can do. So for the next month or so, this is basically Kamala's audition for the delegates. I don't care that they say she's secured all the delegates. Doesn't matter until August 22nd when the delegates actually vote. There's no way that the Democrats could have avoided an internal civil war if they somehow bypassed what could be the first female black president. Even though they wanted to, there was no viable way for them to do so. So now, they're stuck with her. Ain't DEI great? They've backed themselves into a DEI corner and they can't get themselves out of it.
Nearby.
So the operative assumption for people like me who are, watching but not Democrats and maybe not as informed about what the Democratic Party really is as we should be, is that, they have to go with Kamala because she's sort of black, sort of Indian, and a woman for DEI reasons.
It's tough for them to pass her over because of that.
Well, you would think that. That's right. My read on it. She's a moron in a job she doesn't deserve. That's the whole point of DEI, is to elevate people who don't deserve their jobs to positions of power, obviously. And that they have to kind of roll with that because the constituencies within the party will flip out if they don't pick her. I've just assumed that from day one. That's why she's such a problem.
Well,
but now I'm starting to think
in 2020, she was never the original pick to begin with.
Oh, I'm aware. Yeah.
Right? This is everything you're describing is why she was picked then, because in the George Floyd moment during the racial reckoning, as a sailor puts it, that, he wanted like Klobuchar, or he was even talking about Gretchen Whitmer back then in 2020. But then George Floyd happens, they go full BLM, and suddenly it's okay. We've got to pick someone that, checks all these boxes.
For sure. And I thought that was, a mistake in that it puts them in a box that it's hard to get out of. But now I'm thinking, because I think we've just watched like the most brutal exercise of raw, undisguised power I've ever seen in this country, that they're not hemmed in by that. Like, they really don't care. They don't care what their own constituencies think. They can just install somebody. And because the Democratic Party is not an ideological movement, it's just a bunch of people clustered together for power.
Leftism is not ideological.
That's exactly right.
It's never been. It's a tactic.
What Tucker just said, I've been telling you for months. And now, watch. The massive propaganda machine will go into effect, and they will do everything to try and convince the rubes out there, the people who have no intelligence, that Kamala Harris is the person we need to elect as president. I can tell you their playbook right now. Kamala is amazing. Kamala will help you remove as many babies as you want, if you know what I mean. And I think you do. Kamala will take away everyone's guns. It's awesome. Kamala is special. She likes and embraces those alternative lifestyles. By the way, look at the people at her rally to give you an indication who's embracing her. Kamala is a woman. Oh my God, woman, hear me roar. Kamala is a woman. And most importantly, Kamala is black, even though she really isn't. And on top of all of it, because she's somewhat black and she's a woman, she is now untouchable. If you dare to even criticize Kamala Harris, you will now be labeled a racist and a misogynist. She's untouchable. So sorry, white people, you're gonna have to keep your hands off.
The other thing I'd say is that he is going to continue to use all these racist dog whistles throughout the campaign. We're gonna see it from Trump, we're gonna see it from J.D. Vance, and we're gonna see it from a lot of their surrogates. In fact, just yesterday,
racist dog whistles. That's where they're going with this. Everything Trump says about Kamala Harris will be a racist dog whistle.
One of the surrogates was saying, if we don't win, we're going to have a civil war to get our agenda through.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that.
Civil war. And so this is an organization, this is a right-wing campaign that's going to be racist, misogynistic against the vice president.
See how they just proclaim that? Without any evidence whatsoever, you are now off limits from criticizing Kamala Harris. If you are a white man like Donald Trump or J.D. Vance, you no longer have the ability to criticize Kamala Harris. You will be labeled a racist and a misogynist. Doesn't matter. She's untouchable. Don't go near her. That's what they're going to try and drill in everybody's heads right now. It's absolutely sick.
But we're going to stand on the issues and what really matters. It's the fact that
No, she won't. No, she won't, because she can't. She can't talk about grocery prices. She can't talk about rent. She can't talk about gas prices. She can't talk about wasting money on that country way over there. She can't talk about any of that. All she's going to talk about are those issues that affect, the people who want to destroy America. They want to rip babies. They want to do whatever they can to basically bring in as many newcomers as possible. Those are the issues that he's talking about. He's not talking about those kitchen table issues that most Americans really, really care about.
She is qualified. They want to call her a DEI president or DEI candidate. She has more experience than Trump and J.D. Vance combined.
And it's funny because Jim Acosta, who looks like he's got diarrhea, just heard this guy say this and he didn't push back at all. They now have their marching orders. Let them say everything they possibly can positively about Kamala Harris, and don't you dare say a word, because obviously if you do, you're racist and misogynist. She has more experience than Trump and J.D. Vance combined. Are you serious? Trump was president of the United States. She hasn't been president. What are you talking about? It's amazing how these people spew such BS and expect people to just latch onto it.
Times a million, right? She
not only does she have more experience, but it's times a million. It's not even in the same ballpark. She's a million times more experienced than Donald Trump and J.D. Vance put together. And I'm looking at a news host on CNN who's just letting this guy say this crap.
Worked at the state level. She was the attorney general. She's vice president of the United States. She was a senator representing one of the largest states in the entire country. And so these are just racist dog whistles. Whenever you hear DEI, I want you to think about the N-word. I want you to think about racial slurs. That's what they...
Did you hear what he just said? Whenever, I want you to remember, is what he said. Whenever you hear somebody say DEI, what they're actually saying is the N-word. How are you going to tell me what language I can use? How are you going to tell me what is in my mind? You are now you're laying down the law, which obviously this is what the Democrats want to talk about. They want to make sure that is now off limits too. In addition to everything else, you can't discuss DEI, because when you discuss DEI, that's the same thing as saying the N-word. You're kidding me, right? You are absolutely kidding me. This is what these people have? What are you so afraid of? Why are you afraid of people criticizing Kamala Harris? Now you've put this somewhat black woman in a position to run for president, and at the same time you're telling everybody, don't talk about her though. You can't say things about her, even though that's why Joe Biden picked her as a vice president. He said, I'm going to pick a black woman. It was his exact words. He didn't say anything about her qualifications. I am picking Kamala Harris to be my vice president because she's a black woman. But now, back off, people. Don't talk about it anymore. That's DEI is like the N-word. Give me a break.
Actually mean.
Do you think Congressman Burchett is being a racist when he says that?
I have a good relationship with the congressman. I think sometimes, though, he does use rhetoric that is racist. And
who defines this at this point? Who defines this so-called rhetoric that can be construed as being racist?
And whether people know it's racist or not, I'm here to tell them that is racist, and I hope they won't use that rhetoric.
I'm here to tell you. I'm going to define it for you, white people, so you know this is now racist. DEI is now a racist term. So now we're going to segue to something on CNN, and it continues. They're letting you know, don't talk about Kamala Harris. Don't you do it.
He's saying it's going to get racist and misogynist really quickly.
I was going to say that is, listen, we know what Kamala Harris's vulnerabilities are. They're going to hit her. She was the border czar. She talked about, donating to get people out of jail who were protesting in the summer of 2020. So they're going to...
You mean truth. Truth is a vulnerability.
Framers, anti-law enforcement. But keep in mind, the stakes of this race, we know it for the country, but there's high stakes here for Donald Trump as well. If Donald Trump loses, Donald Trump very well may go to jail. He's still got...
How's he going to go to jail? Oh, you're still going to try and prosecute Donald Trump despite the fact that all these cases have been either delayed or thrown out. Good luck with that.
Number of pending court cases. This is going to get ugly very quickly. And I can predict with a lot of confidence that he's going to lean into misogyny, sexism, and racism against it.
She has already said right there, like the other guy did, that I can already predict that where he's going to go is basically racism and misogyny. Hasn't said a word about Kamala Harris. Nothing to do with her race, nothing to do with her being a woman. You can't even criticize her. That's what they're trying to set up at this point.
But I think it will backfire. I think female voters in a big way are up for grabs in this election.
Female voters are up for grabs with this election because female voters don't care about grocery prices. They don't care about rent. They don't care about gas. Female voters only care about baby removal. That's it. They don't care about, the newcomers. That's all female voters care about. You mean young, single, blue-haired with nose ring college kids. Those single women. That's who you're talking to. You're hoping there's enough of them to basically sway enough of the electorate to vote Kamala Harris in. Because you can't possibly mean black women, can you? You see, with all of their boundaries and their restrictions and their labeling of DEI and calling people misogynist and racist, it won't work on people like me. It won't work on people who look like me. I mean, shudder the thought that there's people walking around looking like me, but you know the term they always use. I want to see people who look like me, meaning other black people. Why do they think that black women are just going to fall lockstep in line with Kamala Harris? After all, I'm black, and unfortunately for them, they can't stop me from talking about it. I don't feel racist. I definitely don't feel misogynist. What are you going to do about me? And what are you going to do about these women?
Y'all, Kamala is so incredibly unliked. Democrats would be better off just promoting a glass of water than Kamala. And if they don't choose her, they might pick Gavin Newsom, which is even worse. I just don't understand. Both of them are f***ing terrible, but Kamala, the same lady who locked up a bunch of black people in her district for smoking a little bit of weed, then went on live national podcast and said that, yeah, I used to smoke a little bit of weed. You locked a lot of people up for that. You know that, right? She's disingenuous as hell. 2 reasons. The last presidential election, the 2020 one. Let's not forget Kamala sat here and called Joe Biden a racist. Honey, if you're going to really play black, okay, do you think that black people are going to sit here and be around a racist? But that's because Kamala only honestly cares about the Indian side of her. I mean, she did do an interview where a man called her the first Indian senator. Now all of a sudden she wants to throw black in there and HBCUs and all kinds of... Girl, you ain't done shit. You're a terrible person for president, and hell no.
Trump earned his nomination through pre-elections. Everybody who was in the race with him, he beat out because of people showing up and voting for him. He earned his nomination. Nobody finds it strange that Kamala doesn't have to earn her nomination. They just gonna tell you who the f*** gonna be there. I'm starting to think that this was the plan the whole time. How strategic at this point, how close we are, pre-election's over, that they say, well, he's dropping out and we got Kamala. This shit was a setup. They knew exactly what they was doing the whole time. But they say that Trump is a threat to democracy. What kind of democracy is this when the people don't get to choose who they want to nominate?
And then I want you to pay particular attention over the next couple weeks how black men respond. I'm telling you right now, I know a lot of black men. I grew up around a lot of black men. They're not just going to automatically coronate Kamala Harris. Ain't gonna happen. I don't care what they say in the news, it ain't gonna happen. Now, I'm telling you, that might indeed be a little bit misogynist because a lot of black men have grown up with a lot of black women. And they know how some black women may be. Oh, Barry, what do you mean by that? I'm not gonna go there. I'm gonna let some of these black men tell you for themselves over the next couple weeks. I'm gonna basically aggregate some videos so you can hear it from themselves, what they say. Not what Barry says. Hey, it's not me. I'm gonna let you hear what black men have to say about Kamala. You see, those of us with a modicum, a small amount of intelligence, can see through the fraud that Kamala Harris really is. You see, I watched Kamala Harris's speech today, and it was really funny because there's one question that she can't dodge. Matter of fact, she doesn't even get asked a question, but you can bet Trump will ask her. You see, why did she participate in defrauding Americans for 3 years? Because she knew the condition of Dementia Joe. Why didn't she say anything? Who was she pledging her allegiance to? The country or to the party? Because she knew all along every step of the way what was going on with Dementia Joe. She lied to the American people. And the problem for her is that there's no viable answer. Like her speech today, all she can do is lie. One of the reasons that they probably picked her to run for president, because it keeps her out of the fray of investigations right now. If she has to be investigated, she's gonna fold like a cheap suit. She has to win to save herself because she has no defense whatsoever to the questions that she may get asked.
Republicans should launch an immediate investigation into the Biden cognitive cover-up. Subpoena all the White House aides, the White House doctor, and Kamala Harris herself. Make her testify under oath. What did she know and when did she know it? We asked the former president about investigating the cover-up. You'd investigate the people that hid Joe Biden's condition?
Well, I think somebody has to look at it. Look, you had people that lied to the American public. And I tell you what, you ought to take a look at his doctors, because his doctors keep giving him this wonderful report. I'm not a doctor, but I saw him the other day, was unable to get up the children's stairs going into Air Force One. You know, they're called children's stairs, right?
Yeah.
And they're not supposed to be used because they're very hard to open. It's a lot more difficult than wheeling the standard stair up and you walk down a stair. They're called the children's stairs. They're very complicated. You know, they're built into the side of the plane. They shouldn't be opened. They're opened all the time. He only goes down those stairs now. And now nobody ever mentions it, but I always mention it. He couldn't get up those stairs. He almost didn't make that final step. And his doctors say he's in good health. His doctor says, I know all about his doctor, by the way. His doctor says he's in good health. He's not in good health. I don't think he's in good health.
There's no getting away from it. For 4 years, she has spent the time being Dementia Joe's sidekick. She's been basically his Laurel to Hardy, whichever one of the guys you want to pick, Abbott and Costello. They've been together, right together, sidekicks. They are Dumb and Dumber. For 4 years, she's done absolutely nothing. And with only a few months to go, you can bet that Trump and all of his associates will let every real American know this woman has done nothing but to defraud America.
Let's bring in Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor, how does Kamala Harris now, at the top of the ticket, change this race?
Well, look, she's vacuous, incredibly liberal, and unaccomplished. And so, yes, she doesn't have dementia, but I think she's a lousy candidate. And I was surprised at how many Democrats rushed to endorse her. Remember, their convention's not for another month. And so it wouldn't surprise me if she face plants over the next 2 weeks that you'll start to hear calls from those power brokers to maybe go in a different direction.
Who's told you that? Come on. Who's told you that? Me. I have told you over and over, this is an audition. Between now and August 22nd, this is merely an audition. It gives them the opportunity to say with a straight face, we tried to go it with Kamala. We didn't leapfrog the somewhat black woman. We didn't do that. We gave her the opportunity to go out there and win people over. She failed. So you know what? Although she secured the delegates at this point, on August 22nd, we're going to have to go to a different direction. It's not working out, Kamala. I'm sorry. Watch the polls. Not this week, not tomorrow. They're going to do everything they can to manipulate every single poll that they possibly can. You're even going to see Kamala. She's going to be up in the polls. But then the polls are going to settle in. And you're going to find out she is going to drop further than Biden. And that's going to give them the opportunity to swap her out on August 22nd. The reason why the entire party coalesced around her really fast was because of that. The word went out and said, hey, listen, let's go ahead and make sure we don't screw this up. We can't jump over this somewhat black woman. So what we have to do is make it look like we fully support her. Give her all of our support publicly. But in the background, let's just sit back and see what happens. We are not committed to doing anything until August 22nd. On August 22nd, when they actually nominate the person who they want to be president through their convention, that's when they're locked in. Right now, she's just out there auditioning. She's out there trying to show people that she could become president. But don't Don't sleep on Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and even Obama, who hasn't thrown his hat behind her yet. They are just waiting. They've got all their Hollywood buddies. They got all the media. They're going to give her every opportunity to show that she indeed can be the person to become president for the Democrat Party. But if she fails in the next 30 days, she's gone. Toast. History. They're not going to put up a loser who can't beat Trump. That's why Dementia Joe's on the sideline. So, Kamala, do what you can for the next 30 days, because after that 30 days, if you're still 8-9 points behind, you ain't going into the White House, because you're not even going to get a chance to swing it back. They're going to bring somebody else in. And as I said earlier, real Americans will see through this charade. Real Americans are those Americans who are saddled with high taxes that the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration, thrust upon them. Real Americans are those who are paying higher grocery prices than before. Real Americans are those who pay much more at the pump because Biden-Harris refused to drill. Real Americans are those Americans who have seen billions of dollars being sent overseas to fight some war that they have no control over, that they didn't elect or approve any of that money going to. Real Americans are people who have seen millions of newcomers flood our country because of the Biden-Harris administration. All of that, every single bit of it, she is now going to be held to account for. It happened under her watch. She can't extricate herself from it. There's no way to separate herself from Dementia Joe. And she won't try to, because she actually enjoys the fact of what her and Dementia Joe have done to America over the last 4 years.
It has truly been one of the greatest honors of my life to serve as vice president to our President Joe Biden. Joe's legacy of accomplishment over his entire career and over the past 3.5 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, think about it, in one term as president, he has already surpassed the legacy of most presidents who served 2 terms in office. And I know we are all deeply, deeply grateful for his continuing service to our nation.
Good luck with that. You're going to need it. I believe she's toast. I believe she's walking on borrowed time. And on August 22nd, I don't think that Kamala Harris will be the Democrat nominee for president.